there was two things that they didn't put in the brochure. One was all-night parties with psychedelics till the sunrise. And then people would go swimming in the pool, and you didn't have to wear clothes at the pool. So I was a shy boy from high school, could barely talk to girls, and here I was, these all-night dance parties, and basically being way ahead of his time, very brilliant, but he sort of escaped into ketamine and into the delusion of that he's this higher spiritual level. He didn't have the heart, in a way, of Stan Grof and of therapy. So what Stan did is developed holotropic breath work, to really find ways to catalyze experiences like LSD, but with breathing that Stan said would never be made illegal. I tried everything as extreme as I could to try to get, quote, enlightened or whatever, and none of it really worked. I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was very disappointed, and I wasn't sure what to do. And I realized that I had really underemphasized the integration, and I was just thinking that now we might call it spiritual bypassing. That you've got issues to work on, but you're just like, oh, I'm just going to go out in the psychedelic experience. And that's where I think people get, in some ways, addicted to ketamine. This whole, it seems like you're in a non-dual egoless state. And then that's where I finally came to the conclusion that I was ungrounded, and that the more drugs you take wasn't necessarily the best strategy. She was more suicidal when she got out than when she went in. And so my friend called me and said, can you help her? And I'm like, I'm totally not qualified. This is somebody that's suicidal. However, I've just been through this workshop with Stan and Christina on spiritual emergence, precisely to work with these kind of people. I just didn't know what to do. But I felt like this was one of the key turning points of my life. And if I turned away from it, when she'd been through the best of Western medicine, they had nothing for her. And so I agreed to talk to her on the phone. We had this conversation. I was smart enough, I guess, to say, if we work together, would you promise not to kill yourself?
That's a good promise.
Yeah, because it kind of gets her involved. Because I'm saying, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I will help you. I have some training, but as long as you promise not to kill yourself, I'll feel safe enough working with you. So she did make that promise. And we did 2 sessions. One was an MDMA session that felt like a tour of her traumatic history. I'd like to call it the archaeology of trauma, layer upon layer upon layer. So it wasn't just this one situation where she'd been raped and beaten and all. It was other traumas in her life. It didn't feel quite like a breakthrough. It felt like a good start. So I said, okay, maybe let's do an LSD session. So we waited a week or so, and then we did this LSD session. And in that, a lot came to the surface for her, but it was overwhelming, and it was too frightening, and it was too symbolic. She got stuck, and it was kind of this panic place. And I didn't know what to do, but then I thought, well, maybe let's give you half a dose of MDMA, and that would cut the fear, and you'd be able to make progress. And we did that, and that was the breakthrough. This letter was seen by Laura Huxley, who is the widow of Aldous Huxley. And so she thought, oh, this kid, he's trying to do stuff that's good. Let's invite him to all these meetings at Esalen. So we had all these series of meetings preparing for the defense of MDMA. Best example is the Church of Ambrosia, which is a church in the San Francisco Bay Area. 125,000 members of this church.
125,000?
Members. And what you can do is, this is a mushroom church, and you can go to the church and you can buy mushrooms, and they have a little pamphlet that tells you how to do this in a way that you're likely to have a spiritual experience, and you take them home or nature or whatever. You don't do it in the church. It's more of a storefront. And they sell around 90 pounds of mushrooms every month, around 40 kilos, so something like that. A rather large amount.
Wow.
And they're operating in the open. And they've not been busted. Prohibition is not helpful. It's a violation of our human rights to explore our consciousness. We should be evaluated on our behavior more than on our state of mind. And work, you should be evaluated on performance, not whether you're high. So at MAPS, we have what we call smokable tasks, which are tasks that are work tasks that you and your manager think you're as good or better when you're high than when you're not.
Wow.
So one of the best things is strategizing, brainstorming. Terrific for marijuana.